Are you using one of your van seats as a seat?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Is that not what that is? Like
It looks like it. It even has the armrests.
Because they put 2 kids in the very back row and then
they take one out. It totally is.
I've lifted those before. They're really heavy.
Oh yeah. So what I did was I've moved into the closet that's on the other side of the basement. I'm out of the crawl space into the closet, as I like to say. But yeah, so what I did was I grabbed the extra van seat that we took out and I put it in here because much to as you guys know, my back was not doing well just sitting on the floor. So I thought I'd join you all by sitting in a chair. And I also have armrests. Oh, it's just lovely.
Oh, look at you.
We also know how well
upgrade.
you do sitting in a car for a long time, so it'll be really good for you.
Oh, yes, upgrade for you, Brandon.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Can I be honest with you? My back already hurts. It's like...
Hey, just a quick episode note. This week we talk about the reality of the Tooth Fairy and Santa. Enjoy the episode.
What did you do this weekend? You went to a birthday party, apparently. What else did you do?
Yeah, I went to a birthday party and I wasn't excited. We went bowling for the birthday. And by we, I mean the children. I had to sit there. Watching children bowl is like a whole other level of torture. It is. Between the strong kids that quite literally like hurl the ball at either the floor or like the pins and then inevitably miss is one thing. And then there's the kids who are like, they're like the old woman from like Titanic throwing the necklace overboard. Just like no effort. Like they walk up and just kind of like they might as well just go and breathe on the ball to like get it to roll down the alley. Sure. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just like slowly watching like my life drain away as that ball rolls down the alley. Like it's like a metaphor for life. It was just, and then it was 5-pin, which I know that it's like a Canadian tradition or whatever. I'm gonna get canceled again. It is terrible. 5-pin bowling is, I don't know if you guys have been 5-pin bowling. It is, oh my gosh. And then the kid's like, I don't want to do 10-pin. I want to do 5-pin. And I'm like, you should just try 10-pin. 10-pin is so much easier. The balls are heavier, but like so much easier.
And is it easier because there's just more pins, there's more to hit? Is that what you're just saying?
There's more pins and the ball is bigger. So like you have a better chance of hitting. So you only get 2 throws in 10-pin, but you get 3 in 5-pin. But in 5-pin, you either have to hit the ball really, like throw the ball really hard so that it hits the pin so that the other pins fall over. But then in 10-pin, the ball is bigger and there's more pins and they're closer together. So if you only hit one, you have a better chance that it's going to knock over the other ones.
Sure, that's fair.
But anyway, from my personal perspective,
no,
10-pin is easier. But all these kids, because the balls are smaller and lighter, they like 5-pin.
Well, yeah, but I mean, because they get to throw it. But I know it's hard for them to, I think, get that into their head that maybe it might be easier with a heavier ball. But it's also, they're only looking at it as just like what's the best ball I can use in order to be able to roll it, and it's I'm going to be able to roll something that's smaller than something that's bigger, regardless. They're not,
and they don't want to use like the dinosaur, like the thing you put the ball on and it rolls down by itself.
The dinosaur?
I mean, I feel like
this bowling alley, it's a dinosaur. It looks like a dinosaur.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, but the little...
When I was a kid, it was like a metal slide thing. You put the ball in and it rolls down.
Looks like a reused walker or something like that. Like it's just that thing. Yeah.
I feel like it's like the same metaphor. Like I remember it being... is it grade 2?
Yes.
They're all okay. Like I remember being in grade 2 and learning like a dime is worth more than a nickel, but it's smaller.
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
like it was really hard for my 7-year-old brain to figure out like okay, but that's smaller. Why is it worth more? And it's the same thing. It's like, this ball is smaller. It's easier for me to hold, even though the 10 pin is probably going to be
Easier for me to do.
Easier to gain points on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, they like it. And it's a really cool bowling alley.
That's
so
nice.
It's
Bowling's
like an
fun.
old-fashioned one.
I'm sure,
I love bowling.
I'm sure bowling's
So
fun
much
for
fun.
kids. And yeah, you just don't like watching bowling. You would like to bowl, or just bowl with adults. I'm assuming it's just seeing kids bowl.
just watching the children do it was just like, it was a
Okay.
whole other thing. It's. Have you ever
So
been
did you-
bowling with a group of children when you're not bowling? And you just have to sit there and watch them.
Not
and then
yet.
you're watching them and you're like, please just let me show you how to do it. And they're like, no, I can do it myself.
Oh.
And you're like,
Oh, I would just.
you don't have to like throw it with one hand. You can like roll it between your legs. And they're like, no.
Okay,
And
but then
like,
they figure it out. It's not about them knocking the pins down. It's just about them having fun. Just let them have some fun. Just let them.
that's, yeah.
But I guess that
I'm
goes
sitting
back
there
to,
like, oh my God. And they're just, but they got to figure it out for
yeah,
themselves.
that's true. Yeah.
Gain that muscle.
Is this a friend from school, or is this like a family friend? Like how? Like,
No, it's his.
It sounds like
was his like the birthday for his best buddy from school.
Nice.
They
Oh.
are,
well, that's nice.
yes, they've been.
So,
friends
are
for a
you
couple years.
friends with the parents of any of the
I
other kids?
am. She.
Oh.
Remember, Brandon's
I shouldn't
one
sound so
friend.
surprised.
Brandon's one friend. She's my one friend.
Okay, this is the one we've talked about.
Yeah.
Then.
She.
Yay!
The kids met, and then they asked for like play date. Actually, she asked for the play date, the mom, and I was like, sure. And she was like, let's go to the park. And I was like, that's perfect. The park is the perfect place for a first play date because it's neutral ground and it's easy to leave if there's something, if you don't like them. So we did that, and we've been buddies ever since. And so it's nice because like we go to the park and they get to play, and then we sit on the bench and talk shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys
Perfect.
gossip. You guys gossip about the other.
Yeah. We share some school gossip and some.
What everybody does, right? That's the
Yeah.
that's the beauty of meeting or becoming friends with somebody that
Yes.
their kids go to the same
Yeah.
school, because then you're just like, well, I've heard
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
that,
pretty
that's-
much.
It's a pure joy.
And
I'm not
then-
judging. That's
No,
that's the
it's
good
great.
stuff,
It's
man.
so- it's-
That's the good.
it's so
it's like
great.
it's like being back in school. It's like, except you don't
Yeah.
have to do any homework and go to any
you're
classes.
the popular
Yeah.
group. Yeah.
You just make your own popular group, and it's just yeah. It's my
We're-
dream. Can't
we're
wait to be a
the-
part of one day when the kids get older.
Oh.
Just, yeah.
Well, it's interesting, Brandon, because like because your kids don't go to like public school, you have like a different pickup thing.
Yeah, not
so
yet,
like
yeah.
ours is a hard pickup time. Like we have to be there at a hard time to
Yeah.
pick them up. We can't. It's not a window of time.
Yeah.
School ends at this time. You have to be there at this time
Yeah.
to pick them up.
Yeah.
They will watch them for 20 minutes, but you have to be there. So, like at the time, they don't want to watch them, but they will watch them. So we go and like all the parents are there. So you see all the parents, except
Yeah.
for like a handful of kids that do after school care. But the majority, like 90% of the kids, their parents are there. So you get
Yeah.
to meet them and like converse with them and like decide who you like and who you don't like and who you want to be friends with
Right.
and who wants to be friends with you. So
And
most of the
it's-
time I stand there by myself. So it's nice when
but
my
it's
friends there.
but it's like an offering of like, you know, everybody's standing around there. You're all being forced
Yeah.
to be in the same area at the same time, and then you can see each other. And then if you want to talk with somebody that you're like, well, you look
Exactly.
like you look
And
like
you
you're
can
just
kind
as
of see-
miserable as me. I will go and walk
Yeah.
over to you, and we can
and
be
you can
miserable
see like
together.
which kid. So I know the kids better than I know the parents
Mm-hmm.
because like he comes home from school and he talks about the kids in his class. So it's good to know like, oh, okay, he talked about this kid.
Yeah.
He wants to be friends with this kid. Okay, that's their parent. Whatever.
Yeah,
Do I
yeah.
want to
Like
be friends
connecting
with
all the
them?
dots.
Yeah.
Do they like, yeah. So, or you can go up to them and ask them, oh, hey, do you want to go to the park or something? And we've made friends with a couple other kids through that way. Like, they come out together at recess and they, oh, we go to the park. And then, so the kids and the parents all go to the park. Or we stay, what we used to do is go to the park. Now we just stay at the school and they play in the schoolyard,
Got
which
it.
is nice too. So, but it's,
I'm assuming there's like a playground or something there too.
yeah, there's like a play
Yeah.
structure and a little field, and this schoolyard has 2 playgrounds. So there's like the one for the smaller kids and then one for the bigger kids. And but yeah, it's nice, kind of like we're all in that same position. A great equalizer of school pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what whether you work, you don't work, whatever your status is or whatever, it's like everybody has to stand there and like get their kid and wait for their kid.
And you can talk to the teachers too, which is nice because the teachers are usually there.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk to them about something, they're there. If they want to talk to you about something, they're there. So
the only time
it's nice for that.
The only time teachers want to talk to me is that when I have to sign one of those accident slips because Junior's done something again that he's like not been paying attention. He walks into a wall.
Forgot about those.
So, yeah.
That's so different. Like at school, they're just like, walk it off.
This is like a whole other topic, but I had to sign 3 last week.
Oh, you had to sign 3, all for the same, or was it for a mix of the 2 of them?
All for L.
All 4 for L. Oh, you beat my.
No, it was 3 of them.
Oh,
and
3.
He was bitten 3 times.
Ooh.
3 different kids.
So he didn't do.
Oh, he didn't do anything.
He did not do anything.
Okay.
No, he was the recipient. Yeah.
I had to sign 4 in 2 days across the twins when they went to camp. Because it was Rose had 1 and Junior had 3, and they were all injuries. Like they were all like nothing serious. I just mean that like they were all like they fell. Like they hurt themselves. They did. And one of them really was that Junior walked into a wall while talking to a teacher. Just kept on saying the teacher's name and then pointing to himself and then going to the teacher's name and then pointing to himself. And then he lost what he was doing. He forgot where he was and he just walked right into a wall and he fell down. And then and then I said, "Oh, was he okay?" And the teacher just goes, "Yeah, he like stood up." And he looked at me and he just went, and then he like said the teacher's name again, and then he said his name, and he just like kept going, like he just kept going with the bit. And they were like, "Yeah, he's got like a scrape on his face now because he walked into a wall, so we're just gonna have to get you to sign there." But it was 4 over 2 days, 3 were just for Junior. Yeah, it was just that. I remember going up on the second day, and they were like, "We have 2 more accident reports." I was like, "Oh, for both of them, like for one for each?" And they're like, "No,
no,
this time just for your son."
He is just like my kid.
He's got. It's happened maybe a handful of times now where all of a sudden he'll have a bruise on his face or on his arm, or he'll have like a scrape on his forehead or something. And he's been home all day. I've been with him all day. I don't know where he got it because he doesn't cry. Like he doesn't have like an event where he doesn't need to be like, it's just he hurt himself. He got up, he just went about his day, and all of a sudden you're like, what happened? When did that get? It's happened a bunch of times that he just falls and he hurts himself and he just gets back up and he just wants to keep playing. Like he doesn't make a big deal about that stuff, and it's just you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Elle does the same. Elle will be like on the trampoline or running and like fall so hard, and I'll be like. And I like take a moment. Are you okay? And like he just gets up and he goes, "I okay," and like keeps going. I'm like, man, like I heard that one.
Yeah.
And I remember the first incident report I ever had to sign for R, and the teachers were very much like I swear this happened, and it didn't faze me at all. R was just standing there and then just fell over and hit his head on the wall, and they were like, "We swear, like that's all that." Like, he was just standing there and he just fell over. I'm like. Yeah, it sounds about right. Like he's just like he probably thought about something and then it threw off his balance. But they had cement walls, especially like on that one wall. It was like a cement wall, so it was a hard hit, and he was 1. And they were like, "This is what happened." I'm like, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Like it happens, and he was totally
fine. They fall and they hurt themselves, and it's just They got strong bodies. They got strong. Yeah. They got strong. Young.
Very resilient.
Young. The youth. Oh, youth. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry, Lucy. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say last week. I think it was Monday last week. Sterling went to pick up the kid from school, and I stayed home. And he came back, and I think I was in like the kitchen, and I knew they were home, but I didn't go to the door. And he walks in the door, and he goes, "I lost it." And I'm like, "What do you?" Lost what? Like your hat? Like what are you talking about? And he holds it up, and it's this little box, this little coral colored box, and it's his tooth. And he had lost his front tooth.
He lost his
that had
front
been
tooth.
wiggly
First
for a
one?
while. No,
Is this-
his
oh,
third
okay.
tooth?
Oh, okay.
But it had been loose for a while, and he had been really hoping that he'd lose it at school because he wanted to get one of like this. It's like a little treasure chest.
Oh, okay.
Have you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
ever
I know.
seen
What
them?
yeah.
It's just like a cute little
Yeah,
container. for
Yeah,
it.
but it looks like it's like a tiny little plastic thing, just big enough for a tooth. But it says it says like tooth chest or something like that. It looks like a little treasure chest. Anyway, and he was
a little
so
creepy, but it's
excited
okay.
about it. It's
No, just the name tooth chest. It's just like that's something
Yeah.
like a. Anyways, sorry. Keep going. Sorry.
no. It's
Like a monster with teeth coming out of the chest. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm trying to
um.
take the wind out of this. Sorry. Your school's got some real creepy things that they like to do. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
had them
think
too.
I had one when I was a kid.
I know.
Yeah, I think I did
Of
too.
course. I'm just being. I'm being an idiot. Go ahead.
And anyway, he was really, really excited about it because he finally got the little box because it's all he wanted. And I'm like, oh, like what happened? Did it happen while you were eating lunch? And he's like, no, during first. So they have like lunch 1 and then lunch 2. So they have like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. And he was like, during first lunch, it was like really wiggly. And then like by second lunch, it was just like hanging on like a little bit. And I just pulled it out.
Oh, he pulled it out
I
himself.
was like, oh, I think it was like, he said like it was just hanging on by like a little piece of skin or like root or whatever. And he just like pulled it out. And I was like,
I'm
oh,
feeling this. Yeah.
okay, that's fine. I think I did that too. Y'all do it?
Oh, me too.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
you
but
don't
somehow
do it
you
as kids.
describe it as like it's
But I
hanging.
hated that feeling.
Oh.
Yeah.
That feeling of the wiggly tooth inside.
Especially when you could like spin it like around, and
Oh,
it's just
yeah,
like.
Yeah.
or like push it all the
Yeah.
way
Yeah,
up.
I
Like,
remember you could do that,
Oh.
and you're like, why can't I just like, yeah. Anyways, yeah, used to do that all the time with teeth.
yeah. And I was like, well, that's gross, but that's fine if that's, did it hurt? And he's like, no, not really. But it's his third tooth that he's lost. The second tooth he swallowed. So that's fun.
Sorry, was he okay? Like, was he like he? Did he,
Yeah. Apparently it happens, and your stomach acid is strong enough that it will disintegrate in
Okay.
your stomach.
I mean, it's also small enough that he'd probably just poop it out.
Yeah, he was really upset, and he asked me if I would search his poop.
Of course he did.
And I did. I did
I-
a little bit.
Did you?
I made an effort.
To-
It wasn't a big
to look.
effort, but it was just enough to make it look like I cared.
Oh, you went as far enough so that he's satisfied with. Okay.
Yes.
My mother
yes,
looked,
Yeah.
and I don't think she would not be able to find it in my okay.
Yeah.
My
it was
excrement.
I mean, if my
interesting.
kid asked, I'd do it too.
Yeah. Right. Like I
Yeah.
made
I don't
an
know.
attempt. There was an effort. I made the effort. Enough of an effort
Yeah.
to appease him.
That's fine.
But
Like, I'm not gonna scoop it and put it in a bowl, but I would
Yes.
I would make the effort to like look in the toilet. Is it there? It's not there. Okay, we'll check again next
So-
time. You know, like
on that same on like the same thing as like the poop. You know how like kids sometimes don't want to flush the toilet because like they don't want to have to like part from their
Yep.
waist.
yes, it's like the
attachment thing,
attachment
yeah.
to their
Yeah,
own.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yep.
Exactly. He never felt that way about using the toilet, but he feels that way about his teeth.
He does not want
So
to
he
part with his
doesn't-
teeth.
He does not want to part with his teeth. So with his first tooth, he wrote a letter to the tooth fairy asking to keep it.
Did he
And
still?
she lovingly obliged.
But did he still get some?
Yes.
'Kay.
Yes, he got his tooth fairy money. And he got a reward or whatever, and he kept his tooth. But now he wants to do that again with this tooth.
Oh,
so
well, yeah.
we're a week now. It's been a week, and the tooth is still sitting on my kitchen
are you the
table.
$20 group or the $1
So
group?
our tooth fairy for the first tooth gave, I think it was $20, but
Are
because
you
it was the first
out
tooth.
of your mind?
But
my
because
God.
let me finish. It was the
$20.
first tooth.
Oh my god!
It
I
was the
don't
first
care.
tooth.
I don't care if he
Now
lost
it's
all
gonna
his
be
teeth.
like-
Anyways, well, no, if he lost all his teeth, then it's $20. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
And it's a
'Cause it's
full
20
set of
teeth.
dentures. $1 a tooth, I guess. But I think now it's gonna be less But we haven't come to that yet because he won't give it up.
Yeah, well, that's he's helping you there because he's giving you time to
Yes.
be able to decide on what it is. But I'm sorry, I'm not.
He's figured out. He's like, I got 20 for the first one. I don't need any more money. I got it all. With the
And I
first
get to
one.
keep it.
I'll just hold on to my.
and I
teeth.
get to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on his way to get the box for his tooth, he took a friend with him from class. And the kid on the way to get the box said, the tooth fairy's not real.
Said that to the other kid.
No, the other kid said that to my kid. And I was like, and he came home and he told me this, and I was like, well, of course the tooth fairy's real. It's just like Santa Claus. You can't. And then I quickly changed the subject.
So you are a very firm believer of
keep those things going.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
It's like part of being a kid,
I agree. I agree.
We went to my parents on Saturday, and my dad had to take my minivan to get some wood for something he was building, and he took my kid. He took the kid, and he took my nephew, and nobody else went. Now my dad is. This goes back to like believing things as a kid, is a notorious picker. Like he loves to just like pick at you and like drive you crazy, but he also likes to make up stories. So they were gone for almost 2 hours, and when they came back, they'd had the best time, and it was all based on lies. They went to a haunted house. They went to a haunted campsite. They were followed by somebody. Just a car driving behind them.
Like your dad just made this like elaborate, fun.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, like scene. Hey, that's really cool. Though. Did they love it or were they terrified?
Both.
Okay.
The best kind of memories is.
So apparently they were saying like, "Oh, I want my mommy. I'm scared. But when they got back, they were like super eager and like to tell us about it. And like when I asked, they were very like they embellished the story, and it was very. The experience overall seemed very positive because on the one hand it was all of those things, like it was kind of scary, but at the same time like they knew none of it was true,
right? Like
deep down,
do you do think that, like you do? And I'm asking because you know them. You obviously know your kid better than I do, and like you do truly believe that deep down they know that it was a
yeah. I think that they were never. Yes, I think that they never really felt like they were in danger.
Okay.
But it was fun. Like they understand.
Yeah.
And like, but that's part of being a kid. Like my dad was the exact same with us, like my brother and I when we were kids. So in downtown Toronto, next to the Don Valley, there's a water treatment plant, and it is down in the valley. So you have to drive down like a big hill to get there, and it's behind fences, and it's everything is underground except they have these like weird guard towers. Anyway, as a kid, he told us it was a spy prison.
Okay.
That was it. It wasn't a treatment plant. When I said, "Hey Dad, there's a sign that says water treatment plant," and he was like, "Yeah, of course it says that. Why would it say spy prison?" It shouldn't. But they don't want the public to know that it's a spy prison. It's a water treatment plant.
Right.
And it's right in the Don Valley, and you can hike all around it. And like, this was the kind of like childhood that we had. These were the kind of things that he told us, and I just believed it because it was more fun to believe it and to go along with these ridiculous stories than to
just get
like,
the fact.
Dad, you're so full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's why
it was more fun.
There's this whole thing with the tooth fairy. It's like, do you play into it? Do you play into the story? Do you say that it's real? Because not just because it's tradition and all the other kids might be doing it as well, but it's like, is there actually like a benefit of like of doing that sort of thing rather than just it being like, you lose your tooth, throw it out, I'll give you $1. Like it's like that.
Yeah,
that
it's like an imagination based.
I don't know how you feel, Hannah, because we can get into it as well. Is that like Melissa and I struggle with it, not because we're on opposing sides, but because it's just like we want both. Like we want them both to be like, they understand that it's not real, but also like I also don't want you to lose the magic of Christmas or the magic of like the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny. Is it like, I know that Michelle doesn't know. I know Michelle knows that the Easter Bunny is like a giant bunny doesn't come into our house and put chocolate eggs everywhere that are wrapped the exact same way that they are at the grocery store. Like it's like she's old enough now to be like, she plays into it, like, right? Like she plays into it, but she plays into it also even more so because now she has a brother and a sister who like, just one random weekend all of a sudden, or one random day all of a sudden, they are walking outside and picking up chocolate eggs, and it's just like, and she wants to go in with that sort of like, you know, let's make it a thing and let's do that. So it's like Christmas, I find, is just the hardest one. Christmas is because it's such an extended thing. It's such a, like, it's almost mythic. It's like the amount of tradition that comes with it is so massive that it's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do if it's not, if you're just going to do, like, I'm not going to lie to my kids and I'm going to try something else. I'm going to do something that is going to be, they're going to know the reality of it, but you also don't want to take Christmas away from them because it's a thing that not everyone, but a lot of people do. And that holiday season is huge. It's just huge that just everybody, you know, and things shut down. You go and you visit family. Like, there's traditions about it. There's these big dinners. Like,
it's a big collective experience.
Huge. So it's like, you don't want to take that away from them, but you also are like I'll just speak for myself. What I struggle with is also that I am lying to my kids to a certain extent. I know it's like, it's a lot, but I know it's lying in order for them to have an experience that eventually they're going to go like, oh, so Santa's not real. Okay. All right, so Santa's not real. All right, that's fine. Or they find out at school or wherever that they find out and stuff. But they still got to have those memories and they still got to be within that realm of like...
We're kind of with you there, Brandon. Like, we go back and forth and we reevaluate every 6 months, every year. Like, you know, we it's kind of like a sliding scale for us, and we kind of go off of who our kids are and what our family wants and needs for that year. And we very much talk about my kids. So our kids love the imagination and the play, but we also talk about, like, we don't want our kids to think that we're lying to them. And we talk a lot about, we always talk with our kids, probably too much, I don't know, but we go back and forth and we say
us too.
Yeah. And we say things like, Santa is something that in our family we celebrate and we believe in, but there are a lot of people with a lot of different beliefs, and but like we talked about, like, some families celebrate it and some families don't, and some families have Santa come to their home and some families don't, and some families don't celebrate anything around this holiday season. Some families celebrate Hanukkah, and just a whole bunch of different things, and it's always this open line of communication. My oldest R doesn't do well at night, so we also have a very open conversation about there is nobody coming into our house without our permission, and there is nobody coming into our house like at all. And so, like, we have that discussion, because not only is he afraid of, you know, he's afraid of wolves and bears and snakes being in his room, that I don't want him to also be afraid of, like, a person entering our house at Christmas time. Yeah. So, like, we have the conversation about that too. Like, there's this thing that, yes, Santa drops stuff off and you know, but it is, you know, we have given them permission to put things at our fireplace and under a tree, but they don't have access anywhere else, or, you know, like, I don't know. And we like reevaluate every 6 months to a year to kind of be like, what are we doing this year? Like, and like, where are our kids at? And like, Lucy, the story with your dad, like that thing, something that I probably would have had a lot of fun with as a kid, or at least I think my brothers would have, maybe, but like my kids would hate that.
Yeah, well, it's, like, they would have been so circumstantial, and it's so based on your kids.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And like my kids, though, then like my kids are so into other imaginary play that they're like, if my parents came up with some whole other game that they would play out and about, like, at a store, they would love it too. Like, it, and it's this imaginary play, and I think for us anyway, it's just really this ongoing conversation that we have about, okay, well, what is our what information are we going to give to our kids, and you know, what is this, like, what kind of magic are we doing, and are we going to just straight up tell them? And it's just kind of this ongoing discussion back and forth. I guess
it's tough to navigate.
Yeah, it's highly circumstantial, and it's highly dependent on your children. Like, I can only, every parent can only raise their kids the best to their abilities, and I base mine on my childhood, and I don't feel like I grew up that I was, I don't know, any worse off by being told that there was like, but I also came to my own conclusions, right? Like I got to an age and I was just like, this is ridiculous. There's like, Santa Claus can't make it to every single house in one night. That's ridiculous. This doesn't make sense. Like, that's,
it's like,
so I don't know. I still believe that I'm growing watermelons in my stomach. So
that's it.
Trauma there.
I've got so much gum just sitting in the base of my stomach.
Yeah.
I made the mistake one time of when Michelle asked, how does Santa get into our house because we don't have a chimney? And I said, and I just offhandedly said, oh, it's okay. He'll just like he'll just come through the front door. Like he makes an exemption for that. And she was just like, he'll like just walk in like during the night, and like he knows how to get into our house. And I was like, I've made a huge mistake.
Okay, so that's what my parents told me.
Yeah, and Michelle. Michelle asks, like, if Michelle went on that trip with your dad and your kid and your nephew, like, she wouldn't, I don't know how scared she would be as much as she would just ask your dad 1,000 questions. Michelle would just like well, why is it haunted? Like, it's just, who's haunting it? How many ghosts? How many of this is
Have
going
you met them? What are their names?
Yeah, do you know what their names are? It's just like, what do they look like?
Why do they live there?
Why are they still there? If you're a ghost, why can't you just go anywhere? Why would you just stay at this? Like, it's like,
why would you stay here?
There's all this stuff. They go to a
Why would you want to haunt this place?
A hidden campground. She would be like, where's the tent? Like, why are they in a trailer? Like, it's like, why didn't they go to are they at the beach?
It's the logical brain.
Exactly. It's the fully logical brain. And it's like, just goes to show you that that's like what every kid's different in terms of like how they would interact with something that's like an imaginative plaything. Santa and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and stuff. It's like, you're also, it's just such a tricky, I just struggle with it so much, because especially as someone who loves stories and like reading books and like doing story time with them, and like I haven't gotten a lot of chance to do like imaginative play like that, but I have seen it with the three of them and they enjoy it so much, and I like to lean into it, but I also just have no concept of like how much they actually take in, to a point where then you're just like, are you actually just going to believe this? I remember reading or talking to Melissa one time, or maybe one of you as well, is that when specific television shows that they're watching, especially if they're cartoons, it's like you have to get them to understand that that's not how physics work. Like I remember Michelle one time when we were teaching her about safety, about cars, she wasn't afraid of running into the middle of the road. Not that she like was doing it, but she had just mentioned that like, she's like, well, if I run and I get hit by a car, I'll just go flat and I'll come back up. Like it's like, which is a cartoon, which is like in cartoons, they get run over, they're flat, and then they like boom, and then they pop back up. And you just, and it's like, that was a perfect example. And I had already read this stuff or talked about this stuff beforehand, but when I saw it, I went, oh, so it is based in like kids do this, is that they watch cartoons and all of a sudden they just think that that's how the world works, is that you can fall off of 100-foot cliff and then you'd be okay. All you get is a little bump on your head and birds are flying around and then you'll be okay. So when she had said that, like, well, if I get hit by a car, I'll just go flat, right? And then I'll just like pop up, and it's like, okay, so you've got it. So I just don't know if that's what they're getting from cartoons. What are they getting from Santa? What are they getting from the Tooth Fairy? But I also want them to, and I don't exactly mean this as a joke, but I also want them to have a happy childhood that's like, that has like, she loses a tooth, she gets to do that tradition. She, the Easter Bunny comes, she gets to pick up eggs. It's just, the chocolate eggs.
I don't remember what it was. We watched something yesterday, but I like most shows now that the kids watch, I'll like, before I turn it on, I'll say, okay, I want you to remember, this is not real. This is just this is a story on the TV. It's just pretend. And we talk about that now, so that it's not, okay, well, this fairy is going to come into my room, or this thing I'm going to get hit by a car, but it's okay. Like these things that I like, before we turn on TV now, I say, let's remember, this is pretend, it's not real. And it can be things like, it's like, so that they're not scared, and it can also be so that they're not expecting unrealistic things to happen too, you know, like it goes both ways. But again, like I still want them to enjoy stories in TV mode, you know, like I want them to have fun TV that they enjoy watching without it always being realistic or educational or things because they like it. And we even had that had this conversation last night and talking about like we have so many books. We have hundreds of kids books, and we just got the Scholastics book magazine, like the pamphlet, and we now get 3 of them. So we get the English, the French, and the daycare. So then we have to pick who are we going to support. Anyway, so we had to like go through, and we're like, oh my God. Literally this morning, Corey and I are being like, who do we, but then are we going to have to pay taxes 3 separate times? Like, or do I not get free shipping if I do it from all 3 of them? You know, penny pinching over here. And I often I like to have ones that have like a little bit of education. And it's like, or like being inclusive or whatever. But then, you know, then we're also like, well, let's just get the Mario Brothers one. It's like, there's nothing to it. It's just fun. Like there's no education. There's
not
no
everything
whatever.
Needs to be
like,
a lesson. Sometimes it can just be fun.
Exactly. And there definitely has to be still those lessons. And we use books because my kids love to read. We use them as education as well. You know, for lessons and to explain certain things, because sometimes it can just be explained as a metaphor better than I can explain it or whatever. But, you know, so then we did our whole order, and it was like a balance of these ones can have a lesson and be educational, and then these ones can just be silly books that are fun.
The balance is tough. I remember I was a huge professional wrestling fan, WWE, when I was growing up.
We know, Brandon. We know.
Okay, we don't have to talk about it. Moving on. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
What? No, that was just the preface to your story.
Then why did you have to cut? Why are you?
No, we know that you like wrestling.
Yeah, but okay.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, all right. Jeez.
We know everything about you. You never need to speak again. Is that better?
Yep. Thank you. So this has been the Stay at Homes podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Tune in for Lisa and Hannah next week.
Brandon's moving to a more.
I thought it was me getting kicked out.
Apparently, this is the last episode we're ever recording. Is that what this is?
Oh my gosh, guys.
My dad, one time, I don't remember, I must have been 6 or 7 years old, and he started explaining to me that professional wrestling is fake, and I almost cried because he started breaking down like, well, they don't actually hit each other, and I was like, well, but then how do they? But I hear it. I hear when he gets punched in the face. Like I hear the sound, and it's like it's a huge boom. And he's like, and my dad showed me that like no, when they punch, they stomp on the floor, and that's the sound. And I almost had that's what there's all sorts of crazy technique. But when my dad explained that to me, I remember being completely devastated because I was just like, well, then what is it? Like, what am I like? If it's not actually, if it's fake and it's not real, then what do we like? It just like completely like ripped apart my the fabric of my being. But I remember him also explaining to me that he's just like, well, but it's a show. Like it's a performance. It's like it doesn't
matter as long as it's entertaining.
It's entertainment. It doesn't make it any less real. It's like it's just not what you think that you're watching, and what you're watching is actually something different, and that's okay. And I kind of always go back to
there's a lesson there.
Yeah, and I always kind of go back to like thinking about that specific moment of just like right. That's it. Like that's kind of like it boiled down where it's like it doesn't mean that the cartoon's bad for the kid. It just means that the cartoon is probably not what the kid is. The kid's probably watching the cartoon in a different way. Whatever child it is watching the cartoon in a different way than you would if you actually knew the truth. But that doesn't make it any less valuable. It doesn't make it any less entertaining. It doesn't make it so as long as you I think do that transition properly, then you'll be okay. That's That's just my boiled down opinion of it. Is just as long as you give them the opportunity to be like, this is the truth, but you still get to watch Paw Patrol. Like, we know that they're like, Michelle knows that dogs don't wear those hats and can talk and like can save people when they're. It's like she knows that. She knows that now, and maybe there wasn't as big of a moment that I had with the professional wrestling stuff, but there is like a moment where she makes that turn where she just goes, right, they're not. Dogs can't actually do that, but she still loves watching Paw Patrol. Like, she still loves, like, you know, she still enjoys it. She still asks for it, and she's like, I know that when they go and they're on the pirate ship and they have to save the mermaid. By the way, that show has gone really into some crazy things.
Yep.
Now they save like fantasy level. Anyways, she knows.
But
she knows that it's just like, yes, I mermaids are fun, but I know that mermaids aren't real. But it's fun that these, you know, it's fun that this dog is trying to save this mermaid on this pirate ship while he's got a jetpack that's not working properly. Like, it all sounds ridiculous as long as they are having fun and they know it's ridiculous.
And you can also take from it, like my kids do for sure. Like, they take from it and then they pretend and they play and they're in the like they would be in the bath and they're like, let's pretend this. Totally.
Yeah.
And then it's just a different, like, it's giving them even just ideas of what to play. Or like they're, because my kids do love imaginary play so much, it's just giving them different ideas to do, you know, explore, and
it helps feed their imagination for sure.
For sure. It opens that up. Yeah.
My kids pack bags and go to Africa all the time, constantly. They're going like R I think was like, they packed a suitcase and like, Kate, we're going to Africa. I was like, Kate, where's Africa? The craft room. Kate, see you up there in a minute. Like, if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. If you want to chat with us, slide into our DMs, leave a comment, or email us at thestayathomespodcast@gmail.com. Bye!